My fellow Guardians, what's going on, y'all? Your dude Sly here, and welcome to part 1 of 4 of my Deepstone Crypt raid guide. In this video, we're going to go over everything that you need to know about the Crypt security encounter. We'll talk about team composition, loadouts, and then we'll learn the map and finally get into the mechanics. Now, this encounter is very important. It's a fun, almost relaxed encounter, which translates into a great teaching tool on how to use the augments. Every encounter you do from this point onward builds on top of what you learn from here, so learn this encounter well as all of the other various roles you'll have in here. It'll help you out tremendously in the other areas to come. Now before we start, guys, a quick disclaimer. The footage and gameplay you see here is from contest mode and the day after. The strategy my team and I came up with will get you through this encounter with absolutely zero issues, but things might and probably will change once the meta solidifies. So even though the weapons, timing, and strategies might change, as well as the callouts, the mechanics will not, and that's what this guide is here for. So with that, let's get this bad boy started. First, team loadout. You can really be whatever you wish for this encounter. Stasis is very nice, simply for ad control, and having a warlock well for damage is also great. But besides that, run whatever character and whichever class you wish. Hunters, Stasis, Tether, and Nighthawk Golden Gun, all viable options. Even though you won't really make the best use of Nighthawk here, being able to do precise damage with a super is something that you can definitely use. Warlocks have a well on each side when it comes time for damage. It helps out in more ways than one, but definitely not necessary. And Titans, Stasis, or Bubble, which will be the case pretty much the entire time throughout this raid. As for loadouts, there are a few different ways you can go here. Hand cannons or scout rifles, spec'd with overload mod for champions at spawn, but totally up to you, as you can kill these guys with a sword without stunning them. Risk Runner, also a very useful tool here, as you don't have to reload while taking arc damage. So if you wish to use an arc super, then throw a grenade at your feet when it comes time for damage. That is a very viable alternative. This way you can use a sword for the captains. However, you'll see me with Xenophage and a grenade launcher. As for mods, arc damage reduction, protective light, and grenade launcher reload mod worked for me, but tailor it to your own loadout on whatever weapons you're comfortable with. Again, Risk Runner and sword, a great option. Now let's go over the map. So you're going to be splitting up into 2 teams of 3. You'll have 3 left and 3 right. Now I call this light room and dark room. Others call it server room and tubes, but totally up to you. From this fight forward, you're going to have to start using these buffs called augments. Now there are 2 of them, at least for now. Scanner augment and the operator augment. You have the scanner augment, which is yellow, the operator augment, which is red. Now they do exactly as they are named. Scanner will scan various items that need interacting with. They show the designated scanner player which items needs to be called out. Scanner augments will always highlight items in a bright yellow. Operator, the second augment in this raid, is the red buff, and as the name suggests, it allows you to operate things. Around this room and various rooms throughout this raid, there will be these CPU or microchip looking things. I call them keypads. They're immune when you shoot them, and only the operator will be able to damage them. You know which one to damage because the player who picks up the scanner buff will see which ones to shoot and then call them out to the operator. So that means you're going to have to learn a new call out system. Keypads right next to doors, usually simply open them. However, downstairs, which you can access at the back of the room, there will be additional keypads to operate more doors that lead downstairs. Now, once you get downstairs, there are going to be 5 keypads on the dark side and 5 keypads on the light side. Once the encounter begins, the doors in between light and dark will close, so that means you're going to have to start passing these augments around. Throughout this entire raid, you're going to see these machines like you see here. I call them transfer machines. This is how you can move the various buffs or augments around the different encounters. There's one transfer machine on the dark side, one on the light side, and then one downstairs. Next, on each side, light room and dark room, notice the glass panels on the floor. Now through these panels, you'll be able to see the keypads. When the encounter begins, and we'll set things into motion coming up next, you're going to have to identify the 2 highlighted keypads on light, then call it out to the operator. Once you do, send over the scanner buff to the next room via the transfer machine, and then someone picks it up on the light side. Once they grab it, they're going to have to identify the 2 on light. If you do not call them out fast enough and the operator doesn't shoot them in time, it'll burn the operator alive downstairs. Now, eventually, if you take too long and wipe too many times, it's going to wipe the entire team. As for keypad callouts, my team and I use the following. The room that leads downstairs is what we call the back of the room. Rally flag area is the front. So on dark side, we use the 1 through 5 system, with 1 being the frontmost keypad and 5 of course being the backmost. The same goes for the light side. Very front of the room is 1, very back closest to the stairs is 5. Now for example, the very first glass panel, you can see 2 of them, so be sure to check both. On the light side, there are going to be 2 next to each other, so you and your team are going to have to come up with a system to identify which is 1 and which is 2. The rest though are pretty self-explanatory. Alright Guardians, so now let's take what we've learned and set it all into motion. So break up into your 2 teams, 3 on dark, 3 on light. Go ahead and start the encounter by having a person on the light side grab the operator buff from the transfer machine. Once the encounter officially begins, ads will start pouring out and the scanner augment will be carried out by a hacker vandal on the left hand side, or sorry, it'll be the dark side. Scanner starts out on dark, operator will always pick it up on light. So designate 2 players, 1 on each side, who's going to be calling out and using scanner. Also, since 1 player on light side is always designated operator, that means they're going to be down a man on the light side, so just be aware of that. And also be careful downstairs, as they have their own sets of ads that spawn in and they're going to have to deal with them, mostly invisible pokey stick guys. Now throughout this raid, servitors called Sentinels will be coming out. They block the ability to use the transfer machines. Once the last servitor has been dealt with, that's when the timing in this encounter begins. So pick up the scanner augment and then immediately start looking through the glass panels on the dark side. Call out the 2 keypads highlighted in yellow, and then you immediately want to send the scanner augment over via the machine. Now the light side of the room is going to have to do the same. The person designated scanner is going to have to pick it up from the transfer machine, walk over to their glass panels, and start looking for their keypads. Once you find them, you tell the operator which ones they are. The operator takes care of them by simply shooting them. Once you do this 3 times in total on each side, the tubes in the middle of the room will open and it is now time for damage. Now, at this point in time, the operator will now have to call out which tubes to shoot, and they do this by seeing which fuse is glowing downstairs. Unfortunately, I don't have a viewpoint of this, but it's pretty easy. Just look for the one that's glowing. It'll be one of these at a time, and that'll correlate with the tubes upstairs. So again, for callouts, we use the front to back 1, 2, 3 system. Operator will say shooting light side 2, which means the middle tube on the light side of the room, because looking at the tube, left to right, you have 1, 2, 3. So the middle one's 2, left is 1, right is 3. Once that one pops, it'll be time for the next tube. So once again, operator looks at which fuse it is downstairs and simply calls it out. The next, for example, if it's dark side 1, then that means it's going to be the very left tube on the dark side. Of course, you can always use middle, left, right if you wish. Again, totally up to you and your team. That's just what we used. After you pop all 6 tubes, congrats my friend, the first encounter is done, and now we are off to the contest mode wall A-Tracks. The first encounter sets the tone for just about everything afterwards, so make sure you understand the various roles and how they work, because you're going to need to know these things for the other encounters from here on out, because after this, things start piling on top of this basic knowledge. But that's about it, Guardians. Collect loot and win it life. But as for me, I'm out of here, y'all. As always, thank you so much for watching and for supporting Sly Nation. If you're new to my channel, then welcome, Guardian, and I'm glad you found your way here to my small slice of gaming heaven. Subscribe for more Destiny 2 Beyond Light secrets, guides, and videos. Spank the thumbs up or down if you liked, loved, or hated this video. And if you wish to get in touch, business or otherwise, SlyNationGaming67@gmail.com, or hit me up on the socials at Sly_Nation on Twitter, Sly Nation Gaming on the FB. Take care, y'all, and keep those eyes open for part 2 of my Deepstone Crypt raid guide, as well as other Beyond Light videos. But until then, this is your dude Sly, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Until I